Hi, everybody. Before we get to another great interview, the Two Opinionated podcast could really use your help. And it's easy, it's free. IMDb, which is the entertainment database, imdb.com, named us a top 100 podcast. We came in at number 82. That's a big deal because there's 15 million podcasts and growing. So to be named to anybody's top 100 list, pretty big deal for us. And the way you can help is to go to imdb.com, look up the Two Opinionated podcast, and that's it. Just bringing our page up. That traffic really helps us out. Our YouTube channel is MeisterCon Pod. All we ask is that you subscribe. It's also free, but that really helps us to attract these amazing guests that we keep bringing on the program. And that's it. Two easy ways for you to support us, and we would really appreciate the help. Now let's get to that interview. Hi, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Two Opinionated. So excited today. I've got voice actor JP Karliak with me. So welcome, JP.
Hey, how you doing? Glad to be here.
I've been a fan of yours for a while. I'll tell you how long. I remember you as a party planner on Ringer.
Oh, bless your heart.
Well, Sarah Michelle, it was like her first thing after Buffy. I was watching.
Yep. 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 Yeah. It was honestly, it was a fun experience. She was super nice. It was a fun day of shooting.
Yeah, not terrible. Not terrible.
No.
So of course, you've finished up the first season of X-Men now. Most of us back in the 90s, I was a comic book owner, and we would have X-Men, that cartoon just showing all the time in the store, because back in the 90s we didn't have a ton of that. So you had X-Men, Spider-Man, and we just ran those all the time. So when it came back, pretty exciting, and you got to be Morph.
Yeah.
Yeah. We enjoyed it too.
Oh,
Excellent series. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Were you an X-Men fan coming into it, or is that one you kind of had to catch up because there's a lot of lore with X-Men?
Yeah, my X-Men fandom didn't start with the cartoons, it started with the movies.
Oh, yeah.
I saw the first movie, it was immediately hooked. And then, as time went on in the early 2000s and Wikipedia and YouTube came along, and I could kind of do the deep dive and figure out, like, well, wait, who's that? And what's that? Who are these people? And I really started developing my fandom and appreciation of the lore through that. And then as time went on, and this series came along, I was like, well, what is the original series like? And then I got to see, oh, I get it now. Okay.
Yeah, it's pretty good. It's pretty good. Did
Yeah.
you, from the movies, who was your person? Who was your favorite character?
I'm a sucker for a villain, so I would probably say Magneto.
Oh, yeah. Well, Sir Ian too. I mean,
Yeah. I really loved Magneto. I was also a fan of, just for fighting style and everything, I loved Lady Deathstrike. I thought she was just so cool.
yeah, I got to interview Kelly that portrayed her, and
Hmm.
yeah, we all felt that way. That was the coolest character, and of course, comic book fans knew that character, but I think most of the larger movie fans had probably never heard of her.
Yeah. No. And it was cool to see Morph transform into her, however briefly, this season. So
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, it was
that was
pretty
kind of an
good.
honor.
I
Yeah.
mean, one of the great things about this season's episodes, outside of the writing, the acting in it was really strong, was just the cameos. They loaded it with cameos of other mutants, other superheroes. And I thought that was terrific. It's good fan service.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean, any mutant that it was like, well, I don't know if we have time to develop a storyline with them yet, but hey, let's have Morph turn into them.
Yeah.
you know. So it was pretty cool. There was a lot of fun ones. Of course, my favorite was getting to turn into the Hulk because I actually got to do the line and say Morph Smash. So that was
Yeah,
fun.
that's pretty good. That's pretty
Yeah.
good. So you are getting a chance to play the Joker, which is kind of iconic. But you've already done the Marvel version of the Joker. You voiced Green Goblin.
Oh
I
yeah.
think in Spidey and His Amazing Friends. So, what is that like? What's the project that you're getting to do the Joker in, and what's it like, kind of doing the Marvel and DC versions?
Sure. I well, first Suicide. So I play the Joker in Suicide Squad Kills the Justice League. And it's a fun Joker because it's a different Joker. He's
Yeah,
he's he's from an Elseworld. He's not. I'm not portraying anybody's previous version of the Joker, but I do pull in inspiration from other people's versions to kind of, make him still feel like he's part of that legacy of the Joker. So just different elements of his laugh and all of that. As for Gabi, I mean, he's the kids' version of Green Goblin. Like, he's never evil, he's never bad. He's just
right.
naughty and mischievous. Like, that's as far as it goes. So he's a very sweet, lovable version of Gabi. Like, he's not Willem Dafoe. I'm not. I am not holding Mary Jane off of a bridge.
I've heard. I was gonna say I've heard a lot of different takes on Green Goblin. The
Mhm.
sweet version's not the one I've heard of.
Yeah, no, 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 no. It's a very, and as I said before, as somebody who loves a villain, it was it was uh it was a really interesting. I When I first auditioned for this, they auditioned us in person, which is rare for voiceover, that we actually on our first go round go
Yeah,
into the booth to audition, and we would work with the director, who at the time was Maria Estrada, and she just wanted to make sure that your audition was really dialed into the tone of what the show is supposed to be. So I came in, with Green Goblin, like Norman Osborn,
that's
like,
right.
you know, and she was like, it's too scary, too scary, too scary, too scary. And, and finally had to dial it back to, well, I'm just naughty. Like, so it
I'm
was
just
definitely a hard
misunderstood.
turn. Yeah. Yeah. It's hard to get me out of that, like, blood, murder. Like, she's like, no, no, mischief, trouble. That's all.
Yeah, I'm in the grandparent stage of my life, and you've been
Congratulations.
on a few or had some involvement in a few shows that my grandkids have kind of worn me out on. So
Uh-huh.
Stinky and Dirty. Most people might not know Stinky and Dirty, but I'm a pawpaw, but as a
Hmm.
pawpaw, I've definitely watched my share of episodes.
It's a cute show. It's such a
Oh, it
cute
is.
show.
It's a great
And
show,
so,
actually.
and talk about cameos, some crazy cameo. I mean,
Yeah.
isn't like Whoopi Goldberg and, like,
Oh, yeah.
some insane people are in that.
Yeah.
So, I wish I
Well,
got
and
to
you've
meet
done a
them.
little. You did a little Baby Shark.
Did Baby Shark? Still doing it.
Yeah.
Loving it. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's a
that's
fun little
one that
project.
I thought would come and go, but it's had some staying power. Like my grandkids have been watching that now for 2 or 3 years and kind of
Yeah.
stuck with it. Where most of the time at a young age, they kind of they just keep constantly moving to new things. Baby Shark has hung in there.
Yeah, I mean, it's such a sweet show, and it's got really cute characters, and I think it has some staying power. Not to mention that theme song is just an earworm that can't get out of your head.
That's right. Yeah, it doesn't hurt that it's got the catchiest song that's ever been written, apparently.
Right.
So I wanted to ask you about Queer Vox Academy. Tell me about
Sure.
that.
Yeah. So QueerVox is it's a nonprofit academy and community for
Yeah.
LGBTQIA plus voice actors, and I started it in 2021, when talking to some casting friends when we were basically celebrating, like, oh, there's so many more queer characters in animation and video games and so on, but they're not necessarily authentically cast. They were usually played
Right.
by cisgender or straight actors. And they were like, well, I just can't find them. I mean, where are these actors? I'm like, well, I know they're out there.
That's
So,
right.
so we created this training program. It was really just started out as a class,
Yeah.
to just train these actors. But as we as it grew and we developed a Discord community and all of that, we started to find that there are queer trans actors all over the
That's right.
country, many of whom have a lot of training, but they just don't have the exposure or opportunities that a lot of other actors have. And so
Yeah.
our goal is it's not that type of thing where we're like trying to make the diversity Olympics happen, where we're like,
Right.
you put this person into this role. It's more like, can we just make sure that whenever you're trying to cast a queer character, that that there are queer people in the audition pool? Like,
I love that.
that makes sense,
Yeah.
and also, a lot of times there's that, diversity du jour where they'll be like, oh, well, neurodiverse, everybody wants to have a neurodiverse character. But then next year they'll be like, well, I don't know if it's tracking as well, so I don't know if we need these characters as much. And then
Right.
all of those neurodiverse actors, what jobs do they have? So
Yeah.
our goal is also to make sure that these actors are able to build careers that aren't just exclusive to playing a narrow band of,
See, I
you know,
love that because
yeah,
yeah,
like,
you're boxing them in. It's one thing if you've been on a sitcom for 10 years and you're kind of typecast in that role, you've
right.
already made your money in career. But if
Hmm.
if you're kind of stuck in just a very narrow band, then yeah, that's going to be detrimental.
And it's very, and for voiceover, like, we don't have the benefit of, if we're on a series for multiple seasons, it's not like we start making like $10,000 an episode, or $1 million an episode. We make scale.
Right.
Sometimes if we're lucky, on like season 4, they might give us scale and a half, or like double scale,
Right.
which is like, $2,000 an episode, which sounds like a lot of money, but if you're recording 10 episodes over the course of a year,
Yeah.
that's not a lot.
That's
Like,
not a lot. And if you're, that may be your main gig for the year.
exactly,
you know,
exactly. And
which is
so
why
much.
there's so many actors that have their little side gigs going on.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. I think people, when you find out like the actual percentage of people who are in the Screen Actors Guild who actually make their living doing this work, it's startling. It's
Yeah,
like less than 20%.
it's kind of upsetting when you really think about it because we all rely so much on the entertainment industry,
Hmm.
for things to do. And it's just like any industry, just pay your people a fair living wage. It's not that, difficult, but you would think as an industry, you would want your pool to be able to sustain themselves. That would only benefit you.
Yeah, exactly.
And you're not
Exactly. Well,
talking about being rich. You're talking about making a livable wage. I
yeah. Well, I think now they're getting to the point where it's like, oh, I don't know if these actors are going to be around forever. Let's get AI to do the
that's
job.
right.
So, good times.
We're not going to pay you for it, but we're going to use your likeness.
Yeah. Yep.
Now, good for you for seeing a need, and doing something about it. And I like the fact that it was adaptable. You kind of got into it and figured out that you could expand it, make it into something even better, bigger, and you've done that.
Yeah.
Good for you.
And I think as a nonprofit, our goal is never to be bigger than our need requires.
Yeah.
We don't need to be a giant behemoth of an organization. We just need to make it be big enough to make sure that we're reaching our community, and also able to interact with the industry and teach them how, to do this, and like terminology and like all sorts of stuff to use, so that they're better partners. It's basic HR type of stuff.
That's right.
But
Yeah, but somebody needs to be doing it.
yeah, yeah,
It's a shame that you have to, but
yeah,
good that you recognize that it was needed.
sure.
Somebody needs to be doing it. So my son and I, my son does the hard stuff for the podcast, like the editing, the stuff that I do not want to do. He handles,
Mm-hmm.
but we do hit a lot of conventions together. And one thing that we've noticed for a few years now is you're starting to see those booths with the nerds vote. And
Hey,
that's kind of a newer development the last few years, but I know you've got some involvement with that. So tell us a little bit about it.
yeah, Nerds Vote is the other organization that I, I co-founded. My friend Courtney Taylor and I were both voice actors, and
Yeah.
we were just trying to figure out a way to bring voter registration opportunities to gamers, con goers,
Yeah.
cosplayers, pop culture fans of all kinds, aka nerds. And help
That's
them
our
get
people.
registered and get voting. Yeah, exactly. So we started by, bringing voter registration opportunities to conventions. Then the pandemic happened, and we'd switched to a lot of digital outreach. So now we're kind of doing a bit of everything. And we're actually doing this Saturday. We're doing, in honor of Tabletop RPG Day. We're doing a D&D one shot that is voter themed that will be streaming on Twitch. You can check our social media for that. Yeah, so there's a lot of different ways that we're reaching out to people. We're nonpartisan, but it's really, our thought is, the world is a better place when more people vote, and especially nerds, because they're generally a really empathetic and good to be around bunch. So
yeah, if you could just take the convention vibe and put it into our political system, only good things could come of that.
Oh yeah.
Well, JP, thank you for taking a little bit of time. I love you as an actor, voice actor, but I love you a little bit more now knowing all of this kind of activist stuff you're involved in. But it's positive activism. It's putting good out into the world. So terrific. Love that. A couple little things though before I let you go. Anything you're working on that we can keep an eye out for?
Well, the biggie is the Smurfs. I'm in the SMURFS movie next February with Rihanna and Nick Offerman and Natasha Lyonne and a whole bunch of other amazing people.
Those minor people.
Yeah, you've heard of them. Yeah, so I'm doing that. Very excited about that.
I know a lot of people that grew up absolutely loving the Smurfs. That was their cartoon. So I know there's going to be a lot of excitement.
Oh yeah. Before there was Baby Shark, there was the Smurfs theme, and that was the earworm that got stuck in my head. So
yeah, pretty good. Pretty good. Where can we find you on social media?
Just at JP Karliak on Instagram. And then also Queervox, you can find at Queervox Academy on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and Nerds Vote is just at Nerds Vote.
Can you give us you're watching Too Opinionated as like the Green Goblin?
What is this show? Ooh, they look like they're having so much fun. I can't wait to ruin it.
That's pretty great. That's pretty great. JP, thank you so much. I hope we get another chance to speak or see you at a convention at some point.
Absolutely. Well, thanks, Michael. I appreciate your time.
Yeah, no problem. Hold on one second. JP Karliak, I guarantee that you have heard his voice or versions of his voice many, many times and probably just didn't realize it. He was terrific as Morph. Absolutely loved the new season of X-Men 97. I should probably describe my history with X-Men. Most of you know that watch the show. I owned a couple of comic book stores. That's how I put myself through college in the 90s. Late 80s, early 90s, but I was a collector my entire life, and it was a mission of mine early on. I was a very big X-Men fan, to put together a run of X-Men, and I did. I had, I don't know, the first 350 issues or so, and those of you that collect comics know X-Men 94, Giant Size X-Men. There was a lot of the mutants that we all love now, Deadpool, and a lot of those spun off from different X-Men books. My issue with X-Men was always that it became too complicated, and I saw that as a comic book owner. X-Men was the first book that crossed over into multiple books. Not as big a deal when you were talking 35, 50-cent comic books, but as the price raised, expecting somebody to be able to afford the entire story, because they had to buy multiple books each month, was difficult. So I had a little issue with that. I liked the stories to be more self-contained with an occasional, crossover into another book. I thought that was a better way as fans to collect. But X-Men, for the amount of lore that they have built up, has done a pretty good job because it's complicated. And when they moved into the cartoons back in the 90s, they did a pretty good job of capturing some of what occurred in the comic books, but they also still had a younger spin on the show. So when this one came out, especially when it was Disney produced, I worried a little bit that it wouldn't be mature enough for most of us. That wasn't the case. It was actually really well done. I enjoyed the story. I thought the fan service was incredible. And I thought that they tackled some of the complicated storylines that I enjoyed when I was reading. They did a pretty good job with. So kudos on the show. I had my concerns, not necessarily doubts, but concerns, but they did such a great job. JP as Morph, and that was a very long way to get here, was terrific. And I loved that, they've got a very good voice actor to voice Morph, because Morph can turn into so many other characters. They may have needed him to voice them when he turned into the Hulk and some of those. So he was terrific. Keep an eye out for him in Suicide Squad Kills the Justice League. It's an expansion pack with the Joker, and he talked about it being an Elseworlds Joker. Elseworlds, for those that don't know, is similar to Marvel's What If. So it's worlds where the story is similar to the version we have in our world, but it's a little different. It's a little different, which is different from the multiverse a little bit. Multiverse, you got a lot of different versions of the same thing. Elseworld's a little bit more of a what if. What if this happened, or if this character made this choice and went in this direction. So hopefully that helps a little bit. Just running through some of the other things that he has done. We didn't even touch on Boss Baby. He is voiced, which I think was Alec Baldwin to begin with in the original movie, but he has voiced Boss Baby in multiple iterations since then. Really, really good. He had multiple roles on Star Wars The Bad Batch, on Star Wars Visions. He worked on Looney Tunes, the new Tom and Jerry show. Mentioned Stinky and Dirty. He also worked on Batman the Killing Joke. He was Reese, Green Goblin on Spidey and the Amazing Friends. And then he mentioned the SMURFS movie, and I'm leaving some stuff out. He is a really talented voice actor. And if you enjoy that type of profession, if you like that part of the entertainment industry, we have had the best voice actors, I think, out there. The only exception I'll give you is that we haven't talked to Tara Strong yet. Tara Strong voices a lot of DC and Marvel characters, but we're pursuing her. We have for a few years, and I'm confident eventually we'll work out a time to have her on. But just about anybody else you can think of voice acting wise, we've talked to. So please look those actors up. I think you'll enjoy. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to us this week. Really appreciate that. Love to have your support. There's a couple easy ways to do it. They're both free. Our YouTube channel is MeisterCon Pod. Please just subscribe. Really helps us out. Our website is meistercon.com. You can find almost 800 episodes, audio and video versions. We'll let you know if we're doing anything in studio, if we're going on location, if we're covering a convention. Anything we have going on will be on the website, meistercon.com. So please check us out there. Thank you guys so much. Till next time. Bye, everybody.